everyone. Baggingboard here from baggingboard.com. I'm Chris.
I'm Paul.
Bringing you I, Vampire, #1 from DC Comics. Written by Josh Fialkov and drawn by Andrea Sorrentino.
And let me say that Andrea Sorrentino has amazing use of shadow work. This feels like a horror book from the get-go. Not only because of the pile of corpses,
there's a lot of bodies there,
but just that heavy use of shadow, and things have weight to them and always feel like anything could be coming out from those shadows, which gives it a nice eerie look, but also a nice sexy look.
It is very sexy. Honestly, when I started reading this, I had to flip back to the front cover to make sure it wasn't drawn by artist Jay Lee, who you might know from Marvel's Dark Tower books. Also, a bunch of other
He did Inhumans.
Yeah, Inhumans, a bunch of Marvel stuff. Because the artwork, it's just that really dark, grainy, heavily shadowed, oatmeal colored skies. But it works for this type of book where you have the story of a vampire named Andrew who's going around and killing other vampires. And it's great. He just hates his kind, and he's making it his goal to take out as many as he can.
If you like the character Angel from the Buffy series, I don't really know because I haven't really watched that much Buffy and I've never seen Angel, but I feel Andrew is that kind of character where he has this dark past that he gets hinted at, that he used to enjoy being a vampire quite a bit, and now he's trying to make up for his past transgressions.
Paul, for someone who's never watched Angel, you really summed it up quite well, because that's it perfectly.
Well, that's Andrew perfectly right here. And then you have the opposing side of the coin, Mary, also
the Queen of Blood, she calls herself.
Who believes that vampires have been put down for far too long. Apparently, in the DC universe, there was this kind of agreement that vampires came into where they were going to just go into hiding, take night jobs, and just be kind of happy with it.
I wanted to make a joke, but I did not.
Okay. And they realized their non-life, undead life kind of sucks.
Oh, it's so on with the pun!
And she's going to lead a revolution, and Andrew says, well, you shouldn't do this, yet he doesn't realize the war had already started. And that's what I love about this. It's a villain that I really will enjoy, this Mary, Queen of Blood. I was about to say Queen of Blades because of StarCraft. Nerd. Just because it's a villain that I can completely understand and buy into the philosophy, and it has that kind of seductiveness to it. Not only because she's, a hot vampire girl, even though I'm not really into that kind of thing.
I think you're getting into it.
Yeah.
Totally into it.
It's just an idea that is alluring. It's that the downtrodden, you feel downtrodden, you want to rise above your own status. And that's one of the reasons I really enjoy this book.
And if you listen to episode number 99 of the Bagging Boardcast, you heard us talk about this a little bit, because it doesn't read like a DC book. It very well could just fit into the Vertigo universe. But there's some just throwaway comments in there about Superman and Martian Manhunter that are okay, no, this is part of that new world that we are seeing. And I really feel like that kind of was probably just thrown in there because they had this book coming out, and they're like, hey, we might as well just make it part of this relaunch because we've got it here. Throw something in about the Superman.
Yeah, but it also makes sense that there are vampires in the DCU. A guy that basically can throw out radiation from his eyes, any kind of radiation he wants, should be able to wipe out an army of vampires, no problem, that being Superman. But I have to say that this book does make the vampires cool, and not in the Twilight twinkling kind of teeny boppers are going to love them. The panel that Chris showed you earlier, where they actually turn into giant beasts and can turn into wolves and just crazy transformations. When I flipped up the page, I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
These are the badass vampires.
Yeah.
Which I feel like we haven't had enough of that over the past couple of years.
It wasn't Bram Stoker's Dracula where, when Dracula got off the boat, he transformed into a wolf to, escape that boat that he came to England on. He could almost transform into almost a mist, they would say, but I think it was just a bat. So having these kind of cooler vampire rules and power sets makes it a lot more fun. So I'm definitely on board with iVampire.
As much as I enjoyed it, I'm not.
Really?
It's one of those books, like, when I'm taking a look at, like, my order form, it's like, I would love to read it, but I'm spending so much on other stuff, especially if I'm going to be picking up the X-Men books that are coming out. Little sneak peek about what I might be talking about later in some Bagging Board Bites.
Oh, really? Maybe me too. We'll have to split those up.
Yeah, we probably should.
We could.
Sidebar. I don't know, it's a book that I'm glad exists, and I might pick it up in trade, actually. I'm currently reading the First American Vampire trade by Scott Snyder, who did Batman. You can also find a review for that up there. And it's another great, just awesome vampire story. So I feel like if you want to be a vampire fan, there's no better place for you right now than DC Comics.
Either with the Vertigo or with iVampire, I'll definitely be picking up issue 2 because I picked up issue 1 also. So please, if you want to hear more about our X-Men reviews that might be coming up soon, or you want to talk to us about iVampire, send us a message on our comments right below.
They live below the video you're watching.
Or send us an email, contact@bagnumboardcast.com, or go over to our Facebook page and send us a wall post there.
Why not?
Don't suck.